What's up everyone on YouTube, TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always and staying healthy in troubling times. And now I know what you're thinking, Inception, or Reactionception. Main Man shall react to Arslans Ash's reaction of Main Man's reaction of his tier list reaction. Yeah, I hope you kept track of what I just said. So this is going to be the most pointless video in existence in the world because Arslan watched my video, that sexy man there in the bottom right. Oh, double main mans. Even more Inception. I'm only looking for Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy jumping in with dual Desert Eagles, blowing holes in this Tekken God Prime, who's very valuable to the Tekken community. Oh, I'll use that guy at the top as a shield. That random green rank scrub. No, I'm just kidding, Arslan. Still a shitload of respect for you. But, yes. He made a video response to me critiquing his tier list, which I did with all, possible humility. I consider him the greatest player in the world, so it was cool to hear him discuss my points, the things I brought up. And interestingly, he seemed to agree with a lot of the things I said, so that was awesome. So I wasn't planning on making a response, considering we agreed on so much, and how interesting can this be if we're just going to discuss a few characters I saw we disagreed on. But you know what, we're still waiting for season 4, and as Michael Murray said, it's probably more than a month away, so we got all the time in the world. So let's get going. And just so this does not turn into the longest video in recorded history, I've made notes of timestamps where we disagree, because we can't watch a 31-minute video in its entirety with me critiquing. It's gonna take way too long. So we're going to go to certain timestamps where we disagree, but we're gonna watch the intro.
प्लेयर भी है बहुत अच्छा, तो उसने मैंने टियर लिस्ट अपलोड की थी जो बहुत वायरल हुई है और कुछ लोग बहुत नाराज़ भी हुए हैं और बहुत कुछ हुआ है ट्विटर के ऊपर इस वीडियो को लेके, इस टियर लिस्ट को लेके। तो उस टियर लिस्ट के ऊपर मेन मैन ने एक वीडियो बनाई है, तो हम उस वीडियो को, उस रिएक्शन वीडियो को, उस पर हम फिर एक रिएक्शन वीडियो बनाते हैं जो मैं रिएक्ट करूँगा उसकी वीडियो के ऊपर। तो ये इस वीडियो का मकसद है।
I gotta admit, I was pretty nervous when people said to me first, like, oh, did you see he reacted to your video? And I was like, oh my god, I hope it's not a video where the best player in the world just tears me to shreds. But we seem to agree on a lot.
टियर लिस्ट के बारे में मैंने बहुत सुना है कि इसने बड़ी अच्छी वीडियो बनाई है। मैंने कहा देखने से पहले क्यों ना मैं एक रिएक्शन वीडियो बनाऊँ, अपने यूट्यूब चैनल पे अपलोड करूँ, देखते हैं लोगों के किस तरह के रिएक्शन आते हैं मेरी इस वीडियो के ऊपर। तो देखते हैं गाइस कि मेन मैन को मेरी टियर लिस्ट कितनी पसंद आई है। तो ओके, चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं। ओके, तो पहले स्टार्ट करने से पहले मैं सबको एक चीज़ बताना चाहता हूँ।
That was the intro.
अपलोड करना एक पर्सनल ओपिनियन।
I think we're just gonna jump.
आप उनको मास्टर करते हो। डेविल जिन इज one of the harder character in the game.
Very hard to play. Oh, but all of these, he makes a very interesting point about Akuma. I think we agree on the character, but he makes a very interesting point I think is worth listening to again.
100% ऐसा ही है। जैसे कि हम जानते हैं कि अकुमा खेलना बहुत मुश्किल है, और जो लोग अकुमा खेल रहे हैं, जो लोग अभी तक अकुमा खेल रहे हैं, वो कुमा ही खेल रहे हैं शुरू से। उन्हें बहुत मेहनत की है, मैं बिल्कुल मानता हूँ चीज़ को, उन्होंने बहुत मेहनत की है और यहाँ तक आए हैं। लेकिन उसको जो प्लस पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं मास्टर करने के बाद वो बहुत ज़्यादा है। लाइक अगर आप फिर वो बात करूँगा कि अगर आप डेविल जिन को मास्टर करते हो, डेविल जिन इज़ वन ऑफ द हार्डर कैरेक्टर इन द गेम, और जो रिवार्ड आपको रिसीव होता है वो अकुमा के मुकाबले में बहुत कम है। सो ये मेरा मसला है कि वो बहुत ओवर पावर्ड है। हार्ड मास्टर करना मुश्किल है, बिल्कुल बहुत मुश्किल है मास्टर करना, लेकिन जो एक्स्ट्रा डैमेज मिलते हैं ना, मुफ्ते जिसे कहते हैं, वो समझ नहीं आते।
I gotta say I concur, although there are some question marks in my opinion. And now I'm gonna speak about Devil Jin, I think. Devil Jin is the character here I'm the most inclined to say he could maybe jump down. But you could argue he stays. But if there's one character here I could argue we could drop down, it would be Devil Jin.
And now he's gonna disagree,
on
I
the
think.
characters below here,
Right.
interesting of course is Alisa, which is something we've
था ये ओके उसका ओपिनियन, लेकिन मैं अपना ओपिनियन डेवल जिन के ऊपर कि डेवल जिन के पास सब कुछ है, ही हैज़ एवरीथिंग, हैज़ 50-50 लेजर पंचेस, ही हैज़ अ हेल्थ स्वीप, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट 50-50 इन द गेम, लाइक उसके पास सब कुछ है। डेवल जिन के पास इलेक्ट्रिक की ट्रैकिंग कम कर दिया और लाइक सब कुछ है, लेकिन ओके उसका उसे लगता है इस तरह तो ठीक है, लेकिन मेरे हिसाब से डेवल जिन टोटली डिजर्व करता है टू बी इन एस रैंक।
is a force to be reckoned.
Okay, so I just want to say regarding... I love the point he made about Akuma, that Akuma, as we all know, is insanely hard to play. But so is Devil Jin. And if you want to, you know, do well in this game competitively, if you get to choose one character, you choose Akuma. Because on both of those, you put in years and years. But one of them, Akuma, is going to give you just slightly more power output. More damage and just the craziest launches and punishes in the game. You know, standing 10 frame, you know, 12 frame mid, down 3, etc, etc. And the point I was trying to make about Devil Jin, I completely agree. He has everything he needs. About his 50-50 being one of the best in the game, absolutely. But I feel the character felt the upward 4 nerf quite a bit into the guaranteed back 4. He no longer has any, you know, like power mids that are safe. And I think that hurts the character a little bit. But with the electric buff, everything else he has, I can only agree with Arslan. But what I said was that I could maybe argue dropping him from S to A. And that's because I feel when you look at all of those S characters, if you look at the amount of time you have to put in, I think that Devil Jin is the character that's the most unreliable out of all of those. So I would say if you want to put like years and years into the game, you know, and you want to win, I think that Devil Jin is less viable than everyone else at S. Even though he's extremely powerful. I'm just saying with all of the effort, I feel like everyone else there just, I would say, in reality outshines him. I feel like the effort is too high for Devil Jin considering the output. But that's just my opinion.
Second with, if you look at classic Korean tier lists, or not even old Korean tier lists,
सी में कहीं ना कहीं आती थी वो एंड पे जाके, लेकिन जब के बाद आतिफ भट्ट
Okay, now he's talking about Alisa, we agree.
Man, has he been underrated. And the back 4 alone with his, recovery.
He will now discuss Law.
So this is an underrated character, for sure. Marduk is a monster. Law is interesting.
Law! Oh my god! Jesus.
Up here, because that's
Chill,
a character
main
a lot
man.
of top players like, he is top.
लो के बारे में मुझे लगता है कि शायद मेरा ओपिनियन चेंज हो जाए, लाइक लो में भी एस में ही डिज़र्व करता है, लेकिन अभी कंफर्म नहीं है मुझे, लाइक इस कैरेक्टर के अंदर
Law!
के बाद खेलने से
That sounded like Gordon Ramsay.
माइंड लिमिटेशन भी हैं, लाइक हमजा को भी ज़रूरत है काफ़ी प्लेयर्स के साथ खेलने की, उस पर उसका माइंड खुलेगा तो, लेकिन शायद मेरा इस कैरेक्टर के बारे में ज़हन बदल जाए, लाइक अभी मैं ए में रखा है फिलहाल के लिहाज से, लेकिन फ्यूचर में शायद बदल जाए।
Fab, if you play him, you know, if you play him perfectly,
fuck
but
am
no
I
one ever
saying?
does.
Okay.
So Lloyd.
Okay, so Law is interesting because it's this character where, you know, you hear a lot of top players. It turned into a meme when Jimmy J. Tran, you know, Mr. Naps, said that Law was it top 3 or was it top 5? But a lot of Koreans agree that Law is insanely strong. It's just that no one can ever put it into practice. Everyone's, oh, top 3, top 5, but okay, where is this godlike character in tournaments? He's always absent, you know. He's never there, and it's because when people put him that high on tier lists, it's because they talk about God Law, and God Law is when you do while standing 4 or 4-3 into a perfect DSS, and suddenly you have the craziest advantage frames. Insane frames. It's a little bit like Akuma, where They do it in very different ways, but if you have this crazy execution, your reward with Law is the most weird frames you'll ever see. It's almost game breaking. But the problem is the execution demands are so high. And what does everyone do? All the tier whores. They saw that with Akuma, if you have that type of execution, God Law execution, why go with Law? Why not just pick up Akuma and dish out 120 damage without wall? And that's exactly what Shikurin did, who won the Tekken World Tour. He saw, oh, Akuma's great, picked him up, learned to do the combo, everyone's dead. Who won Tekken World Tour 2019? The absolute final set was Akuma versus... Shikurin's Akuma versus Ulsan's Kazumi. Which of course ties into this, sorry for straying here, but this funny video this Akuma player made, put on YouTube, rubbish. I will be posting a response to that video as well, but where he compares the down to Hado FADC to Kazuya's Perfect Electric. And he says, oh, it's unreasonable to say that someone can Perfect Electric at all times. Absolutely. But it's not unreasonable to say that there are a lot of Akuma players who can do down to Hado FADC pretty much all the time. Shikurin saw the potential of that, and tier whore as he is, picked up Akuma and learned to do that. And yeah, lo and behold, in tournament play, he's doing that. So it's like, Akuma, the power of Akuma. And if you have godlike execution, go with Akuma. You know, he really pays off. What is this like imaginary top 5? I've seen, you know, Ninja Killer or Hisham. So yes, Law. Is he from? Law has incredible frames, but it's locked behind execution. So now we're gonna go to Alisa. I think he disagreed there.
यहाँ पे मेरा एक सवाल है, like Alisa.
You could. Honestly, these two are probably the characters where I would go more like, especially Alisa.
यहाँ पे मेरा एक सवाल है, like Alisa को बहुत सारा कहते हैं कि Alisa top 5 में आजकल ये trend चला हुआ है. बहुत से लोग tier list
I think especially Koreans value Alisa greatly.
समझना लोगों को ज़रूरी है कि उसका chainsaw stance में जो वो करती है उन चीज़ों को plus minus जानना ज़रूरी है आप लोगों को.
Her chainsaw bullshit that you eat a lot online was buffed greatly going from Season 2 to Season 3, and it turned into very viable offense with some pretty crazy frames. Still a bit gimmicky though.
Normal में वो strong enough for तो अच्छा whiff punish अच्छी है, हर चीज़ अच्छी है, लेकिन उसके पास लोग जो मार खाते हैं वो chainsaw stance के अंदर जाके खाते हैं, लेकिन अगर उसका आप stance पकड़ लो,
people only really struggle against the chainsaw stance.
लोग समझ रहे हैं, मेरा ख्याल है ये.
So again, this is basically Arslans saying that I guess he doesn't really agree. It's still subjective, it's your opinion, but he really doesn't see why a lot of people put her in like top 5. I know a lot of Koreans value her very greatly, and I think it's because it ties into like Korean style of play very well, like perfect play, staying safe with movement and punishing. And I think she must be one of the best characters in the game when it comes to that. Her movement is like no other character almost. How powerful her sidestep is, her backdash, her poking is very strong. She stays extremely safe. Her whiff punish is amazing. And when you couple that with the movement, you have a very strong package. And also her block punish is extremely strong. But I would say the chainsaws are very good. But of course, if you learn how to deal with them, maybe they are a bit gimmicky. I would say the big problems with Alisa is that the damage output is not very high, poking and combos. There's a lack of comeback potential. She has a great rage drive, but she has no good knockdown low. And again, the damage is pretty low. But in terms of just moving around, punishing mistakes, and applying very basic strong poking, she's insanely good. Insanely good. So I can definitely see people putting her in S. But I guess it's subjective. But in terms of Korean perfect style of play, staying safe, moving around, controlling space, she has good tracking, Her standing 4 is really good. She can close the gap with the opponent immediately. You know, strong movement, go away, close the gap. She controls matches so well. It's like, I can definitely see people putting her very high. Is insane. So this is where I honestly would be the most inclined to honestly place her here. Okay, Alisa.
You know what? We can agree.
Now we're gonna
this.
talk
Nothing
about
too
the B
crazy.
chunk.
But where I do have to stand up, put up my hand and say, I object, is this
You tell
big
him,
old
main man.
B chunk of leftover dumpster shit here. Because this is where I'm like, you gotta be a little bit more specific, in my opinion. So this is where...
देखो दो चीज़ें हैं यहाँ पे मैं स्पेसिफिक नहीं बता पा रहा क्योंकि देखो अब कुछ लोग अब मेरा ख्याल है मैंने शायद फॉलो नहीं किया लेकिन शायद जब रांचू
This is my favorite part of his response. I remember this.
ठीक है अपलोड की होंगी तो उसके अंदर उन्होंने पांडा कुमा को एंड पे डाला होगा लेकिन रांचू डायरेक्टली लाइक जैसे भी मतलब कि अजूबे की शक्ल में लाइक जाके जीत गया ठीक है टूर्नामेंट टेकन वर्ड टू वर्ड जीत गया तो उससे ये पता लगता है आपको कि उससे और भी जो मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन मैं KF भी खेलता हूँ मैं बहुत सी गेम्स खेलता हूँ जो मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन है कि कुछ गेम तो गेम है लाइक अब मैं कहता हूँ कि 80% गेम है लेकिन जो 20% है ना वो आपका डिटर्मिनेशन है टुवर्ड्स योर कैरेक्टर अगर आप एक लार्स खेलते हो और लार्स बहुत चीप है लेकिन जो आपकी डिटर्मिनेशन है और जो लव है आपको कैरेक्टर को लेके वो आपको बहुत आगे ले जाएगा वो आपको वो जो कैरेक्टर बी में है तो आपके प्यार की वजह से और आपकी एफर्ट और लव की वजह से आप चीज़ें निकाल लोगे आप बहुत मेहनत करोगे आप उसको एक रैंक ऊपर
Us Gigas mains, we really feel this.
इसलिए मैंने कोई CDEFG नहीं बनाया मैंने सिर्फ B बनाया है क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि S और A देना ज़रूरी है और मुझे मेरा ख्याल है B देने की और C D देने की
Hype tour. Does that mean that my determination can get me out of ruler? Yeah. Listen to Arslan, you know, he's so wholesome. It's like, yeah, you can make it out. It's determination. No, wait, you play Lars. No, you're fucked. I forgot Hype tour. You play Lars.
मुझे लगता है कि जो कैरेक्टर्स और जो प्लेयर जो खेलने वाला है उस पर बहुत डिपेंड कर रहा है इनफैक्ट मैं कहूँगी नॉक्टिस कहते हैं कि बहुत बेकार है लेकिन क्या बता कि नॉक्टिस भी चल सकता है टूर्नामेंट
But honestly, I think it's a beautiful thing he says here, and who does not agree with this? It's more up to the player than the character, except if you play Lars. It's up to you being, very motivated, creative, seeing the character your own way. You know, what can you do with this character that maybe no one else is seeing? It's gonna be up to your determination more than anything else.
बंदा अगर दो पॉइंट्स का टूर्नामेंट है तो वो बंदा आपकी ब्रैकेट स्थान आ जाती है टूर्नामेंट जीत जाते हुए नॉक्टिस लेके इज पॉसिबल मैं सही क्या कई दफ़ा ऐसा होता है कि आप पूल तो इजीली क्लियर कर लेते हो उसके बाद जो प्लेयर्स आते हैं आपको टॉप 8 के अंदर मिलते हैं कहीं नॉक्टिस के भी कुछ बैड मैचअप्स होंगे लाइक
and of course like there's so many characters in this game that I feel it's even hard for the pro players to keep track of everyone, their strength levels, and what the character's full potential are. It's just like we've seen this proven many times. Akuma, for 2.5 years, Nee saying, he's fucking crap, man. He's fucking trash. Akuma sucks. And then it's like, oh, he's OP. Oh, okay. And then Kuma trash. Kuma wins Tekken World Tour. And again, Rangchu is amazing. Amazing. But was it a little bit people being downplaying Kuma as a joke? Being a little bit unfamiliar with the matchup? I think there was that component as well. And I hope it's not controversial to say. I don't want to rob Rangchu. He's an amazing, amazing player. And of course, it's like Alisa. Oh, bottom five, all the top Korean players. And then Arslan and the guys in Pakistan. King of Fighters is huge in Pakistan. And those of you not familiar with that game, known for its obscenely difficult execution. Tekken is way easier. So I mean, is it a coincidence that those guys pick up Akuma and Alisa and like, oh, you guys think these combos are hard? Smoke everyone with those characters. It's like Nee said about Akuma. He realized how strong the character was as soon as players showed up who could do those combos reliably. Because before that, he was like, this is an inconsistent character. But oh, suddenly guys show up who land the combos every time. And it's like, oh, it's actually a reality that this is consistent 100 plus damage. So it's like, yeah, the guys who play King of Fighters a lot, yeah, they are going to bring out the max potential out of that character. But I agree with him. It's like there's probably many other characters that are very underrated that you could put in that B section.
बैड मैचअप है तो आप उनके कैरेक्टर्स को डाल देते टूर्नामेंट तो जीत सकते हो. इट्स नॉट अ वेरी बिग डील. इट्स अ बिग बट इट्स नॉट अ वेरी बिग डील. तो इसलिए वजह कि मैंने सी और डी टी लिस्ट नहीं बनाई सिर्फ और सिर्फ ये वजह.
Sorry, blasphemy to Lord Arslan. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a C here. Where are we? A C.
Guys, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, okay, so maybe he gonna make another bracket or other row D, but पता नहीं अभी. लेकिन पांडास इतने ज़्यादा वीक नहीं है. लाइक C ओके या उन दूसरे कैरेक्टर्स को थोड़ा सा एज है पांडास पे, लेकिन अगर डी में नहीं डालना चाहिए पांडास को, क्योंकि मैं खेलता हूँ पांडा. बहुत वीक नहीं है, वीक है लेकिन बहुत ज़्यादा वीक नहीं है.
Okay. So there must I gotta say, the bears to me just strike me as, in my opinion, weak Gigas and very vulnerable character in the game. Due to huge character hitbox. And the combos they eat, and sometimes, you know, the weird hitbox lets them get out of combos. But I'm gonna Arslan here is very experienced with the character, so I mean overall you should take his word 10 times less salt than mine. You know, I'm just a YouTube pleb. He's a god. But definitely in this case, it's like he's bottom. I'm gonna listen to what he has to say on Kuma.
No, guys, I completely disagree. Gigas is not bottom 2. Definitely, Gigas is not bottom 2. Gigas has very good, like not very good amount of good matchups, but I think कि उसके पास अच्छे matchups हैं जो Gigas मार सकता है. Like मेरा ख्याल है कि वो ज़फीना को अच्छा टैकल कर सकता है. वो कुछ कैरेक्टर्स उनको बहुत अच्छा टैकल कर सकता है.
This is very interesting.
अच्छा टैकल कर सकता है, ट्रस्ट मी. और गीगस ब्रायन को भी शायद बहुत अच्छा टैकल कर सकता है. मे बी शायद नहीं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है गीगस इज नॉट डेफिनेटली नॉट बॉटम 2
in the game, in my opinion. Gigas is not and that can be controversial to say, considering the bad defensive options Gigas has, and he has no movement. But he has an interesting power crush, and I see a few godlike Gigas players utilize the down 3+4 really well. Lars has better defensive options. His punishment is actually really good, and his movement is quite alright compared to Gigas. But Tekken 7 is a more offensive game rather than defensive. This game, due to the limited movement, favors offensive game, and due to the top characters being so safe. Voice cracks. So Lars having a great 14 frame standing Punisher is not too much of a thing in this game, in my opinion.
किसका कहना है कि Tekken is
okay, this is where I think we get a misunderstanding rather than a disagreement. We're gonna look at this. But Lars, he's gonna agree with me that he has no viable offense. That's how I remember it, and we're gonna get into it. But regarding Gigas' strength level, he says he's not bottom 2. And I make the point in my video that he has decent fundamental tools in a long-range jab, down forward 1, down back 2, overkill throw. There are certain things there, and the power crush, down 3+4, which a great player can do some pretty great things with. But okay, if you don't feel he's bottom 2, Lars, I think we agree, is the worst character. But so where would Arslan put Gigas. I would just love to hear that. Is he bottom 5? And what characters are worse? I guess maybe Eddie Miguel. Would have been interesting to hear.
Game, not a defensive game. Like in which sense, when top players fight with each other.
But I definitely can't see Gigas as like even. Maybe would he put him mid tier? Maybe. I just have a hard time seeing that. But again, this is Arslan.
Round is not time up हो रहा था तो like it's not favoring offensive gameplay, right? पता नहीं इसने क्या सोचेगा, but मैं शायद गलत समझ रहा हूँ, लेकिन
right, this is just a misunderstanding. He seems to think I'm implying that offensive Unga Bunga is what wins matches in Tekken. Well, in certain ranks, but certainly not in competitive play. That's where everyone plays perfect Tekken defense. It's the hardest thing to do with Tekken. It's to play good defense. And that's what tournament players do. They have excellent defense. If you look at, he gave an example when he plays against Knee. Knee is very, very known for his low-risk playstyle. With Steve, Paul, you can watch his Kazuya that he brings out once in a while. Does he apply a 50-50? Almost never. He does sometimes, but it's mostly about jabs, forward fours, forward rolls, and electrics. That's it. He always plays so clean. It's the Korean perfect style of play. And that's how Arslan plays himself, and it's beautiful to watch. What I was saying was that Tekken 7, compared to the games prior in the series, favors offense more. The games prior, all except for Tekken 4, they all had stronger movement to put a bigger emphasis on moving away and whiff punishing. It favored defensive play much more. Attacking in games prior was much riskier than it is in Tekken 7. To compound this change, they also gave characters over-the-top attacks that have incredible range and also lockdown spacing. Moves track much more in Tekken 7, and you also have these super mids like Asuka forward 3, King forward 1, Claudio back 1. There's an infinite amount of examples. So in Tekken 7, you restrict the movement, you move more slowly and less, and your opponent's attacks have more reach and tracking to make the game a little bit more offensive oriented than games prior. So that's all I was saying. And I think Arslan would agree with me here.
मेरा ख्याल है कि defensive offensive is balanced, और मैंने इस बारे में कभी सोचा नहीं है, तो okay होगी.
And Lars has no viable offensive options. His lows are terrible. His mids, terrible. Yeah, and this is like... And this is why I wanted to put certain characters in C and certain characters in B to have some distinction, because a character like Lars, I don't see how... And I don't want to... It's like... Well, I'm going to speak directly to Arslan here. It's like when you put that big old sack of B, and you have Jack in there, and you have Lars in there. To me, I know what you're saying. It's like, oh, if you're just determined, and you're very focused with your character, you can maybe win a tournament. But it's like, it's impossible for me, at least, to see Jack and Lars in the same tier bracket. Because on paper, to me, Jack has amazing tools. If you're a very strong player, Jack has really good frames and fundamental tools. Jack has strong offense. And he has, his defense is harder due to big hitbox, sidestep not the best, but he has a decent backdash. But he has the range, the range to play around with. Whereas Lars, and as we just said, Tekken 7 favors offense a little bit more than games prior. And Lars has no viable offense whatsoever in competitive play. He's so risky. He's sluggish, his frames are not good, he's very steppable. So that's why, in my opinion, having a big B bracket, including a character like Jack, and then Lars and Eddie, it's like, to me, Jack is superior objectively to those characters. So that's That's why I definitely wanted to some separation. Separation and the riskiest. Whereas Gigas actually on a very basic and fundamental level has a long range jab, down forward 1, down 2, and down back 2 to get some frames with a low. With a low. Lars just doesn't have that very basic utility. Okay, Gigas where are we? Can win tournament defensive play.
Yes, वही जवाब.
Lars has the hardest time. I think Lars is bad too.
Comparison करते हैं. Like क्या लगता है आपको कि मिगेल नीना को नहीं मार सकता? क्या लगता है कि मिगेल लाइक जो भी बी कैटेगरी के अंदर प्लेयर्स उनको नहीं बीट कर सकता? मेरा ख्याल है कि बीट कर सकता है. मेरा ख्याल है मिगेल काफ़ी प्लेयर्स को बीट कर सकता है. मिगेल नीना को भी कर सकता है. मिगेल बॉब लाइक मिगेल लिंगशाइयो किंग काफ़ी प्लेयर्स को बीट कर सकता है. डिपेंड करता है कि कौन खेल रहा है मिगेल. और स्टिल वही वाली बात से जो चीज़ें की हैं बिल्कुल सही पॉइंट आउट की हैं. लेकिन वही बात कि मिगेल खेलने वाला होना चाहिए ना. अगर किसी को शौक है मिगेल से खेलने का लाइक अब मेरा बस नहीं चलता मैं खेल के दिखाऊँ लेकिन ना टाइम नहीं है. लेकिन बी कैटेगरी के प्लेयर्स एक दूसरे को मार सकते हैं. एक दूसरे को मुकाबला कर सकते हैं. हाँ मैं मानता हूँ कि एस कैटेगरी के प्लेयर से नहीं कर सकते लेकिन एक दूसरे का मुकाबला कर सकते हैं. तो ये सीडी में कैसे आ गए लाइक समझ रहे जब आप एक दूसरे को मार सकते हो.
Yeah, but characters can beat each other depending on player and play style.
This is my
character knowledge, etc.
और हाँ अगर ओवरऑल जनरल टूल्स की बात की जाए यहाँ फिर आप डिफरेंशिएट कर सकते हो. शायद वो इसलिए डिफरेंशिएट.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, looking at overall tools. So basically, when I compare two characters, it's more like saying, let's say, both of these players, we have one guy playing Jack, one guy playing Lars. They are on equal footing in terms of skill level. And they both know each other's matchup in terms of character and playstyle. They know the matchup 100%, and they are of equal skill level. I would say the Jack would win more than the Lars. But just because of Jack's tools compared to Lars's tools. Yeah, I find Miguel to be terrible, and I don't understand why they nerfed his Savage stance so much. Down back 3 and down forward 2. Okay, certainly, they made Savage 2 safe, but that's not enough to compensate for what they did to next those disagreement. And just range an even higher degree. I simply can't. He's waste. Okay, all right. I create another bracket.
Like अभी हम
B plus.
कर रहे हैं. Like हाँ मैं भी गलत हूँ ये हो सकता हूँ. ये भी सब कुछ कोई भी गलत हो सकता है. लेकिन I think Horang still has too much potential. तो Horang और Heihachi.
Okay, yeah, I'm moving up Horang I think to B plus.
Horang can't beat Heihachi, or Heihachi is better than Horang in some ways. Okay.
Or Katarina, he's way stronger than them.
Okay.
So at B plus, I'm gonna make another tier, and I'm going to just take out characters I feel just are stronger than everyone else here. Okazuya is interesting because everyone is overhyping the character so much. He's top 5! He's top 5! They do be like that though. So King, I find to be pretty uncontroversial putting him that high. He's really, really good, and I think you've had it explained to you many times. We can talk a little... Top 5! We can talk a little bit about Horang, because that's an interesting example of a character who... you know, that type of character that has a million mix-ups and stances usually are always on paper pretty low tier. They destroy people who don't know the matchup. And that has been the case with Horang. He's always had the crazy mix-ups, but he's always been kind of rubbish. If you look at Tekken 6 Horang, he's almost useless. He's not good at all. And then Tag 2, they buff him a little bit, but then Tekken 7, they've really made an effort of buffing Horang quite a bit. And especially in Season 3, a lot of awesome stuff happened, you know, like the safe just frame skyrocket that almost only Gigas punished, the frames on right foot forward, back to, like a lot of buffs where it's like, he didn't used to have these great moves and tools, but he certainly does today. So you have a character with unbelievably powerful mix-up potential and some awesome moves and combo damage and amazing frames. And his throw game is excellent. It's like, I think Hwoarang is really, really good if the right player plays him. But it's like, I just recorded a video on Kazuya versus Devil Jin, who's the strongest, and in my opinion, Devil Jin. And this is me giving a very good explanation as to why Kazuya is very overhyped, and that Devil Jin is stronger than Kazuya easily. Arslan agrees. You've maybe seen my video, and I still have people contacting me saying I'm downplaying Kazuya. And I'm really not. I'm being very objective here. I'm putting him at B+ because I see that he has strengths. But again, listen to my explanation. In competitive play, Kazuya does not belong. He's way too risky. Way too inconsistent. Jin, easily. People just look, I promise, people just look at the 50-50.
Let's see.
And now we're going to have some big disagreements.
Asuka top. Okay, is his opinion.
Ryu, Jack, Josie, Negan.
Negan isn't B+. He must be kidding. Okay.
Bob, Claudio, Master Raven. Now I feel we have more proper definition in the tier list. These
I think अगर मैं बनाऊं
he must be kidding.
अभी इस तरह कुछ करें हम भी तो मेरे हिसाब से ऊपर जाना चाहिए ना दिस कैरेक्टर्स को आस्का तो पहले नीचे है ना सबसे पहले
He would dump Asuka immediately.
और उसके बाद आस्का जब नीचे
I really feel Asuka gets downplayed quite a bit by a lot of people.
I think ये दोनों B+ में जाना चाहिए क्योंकि दोनों बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है फैंग को भी B+ में जाना चाहिए और फैंग की जगह आना चाहिए आई गेस नीगन को बॉब क्लाउडियो हाँ स्ट्रॉन्ग है दोनों के दोनों स्ट्रॉन्ग है तो आई थिंक ऊपर से नीचे तारो आस्का को और नीगन को
Okay, I think Asuka actually has quite a few things going for her in tournament play. Good comeback potential, good potential for burst damage. If people are stressed, which people usually are in tournament play, she can really capitalize on that with her strong keep out and counter it game, her defensive game. And she has a lot of tricks, some really gimmicky shit with, the unblockable forward free tech trap. All of her super obnoxious attacks like back free, counter parry setups, key charge, ultimate tackle. She has a lot of bullshit for a first to free, and she's super easy and reliable, super easy. Let's see, we've said insane keep out, very strong counter it options. She has a magic 4. She has multiple safe mids that counter it launch, including the pretty much perfect forward free. She has a decent throw game. And yeah, again, like the counter it stuff, like that full crouch down for 2. Really strong. And what is it? Sidestep 4? And her forward 1+2, power crush, wall bounce. That move's really good. Her rage drive is really good. She has a crap jab. Her 10-frame jab. The 12-frame punish also has problems. But in general, like, I feel like Asuka is, to me, a strong tournament character.
तार दो और ऊपर ले जाओ लई को सॉरी और Yoshimitsu को और
Isn't her down for 2 pretty damn good as well? Characters, in my opinion, have a slight edge on the characters below. And Negan, he would drop down. And Negan, This is where I have to confess that I'm maybe a little bit biased in favor of a character, considering I love the character Negan from having watched, you know, I almost said Tekken World Tour. What is it called? God, total brain freeze. The Walking Dead, right? Walking Dead. I almost forgot what the fuck it was called. I'm thinking of 1,000 things at once here. But I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I like the character Negan. He's a fucking badass. So, yeah, maybe I want him to be stronger than he is. But I don't see it as completely unreasonable putting him that high. First of all, he has great range. He has amazing punishment. His 12 frame while standing Punisher is just... big damage, like 30 plus. Plus 6 into Intimidation. Punishment is excellent. Again, long range down for 2. His combos are ultra reliable, ultra damaging, uber wall travel, consistent from like all axes. He has great mix-up potential in my opinion with the Intimidation stance. He can now do 1-2 Intimidation, manual Intimidation. He's always been able to do that. And the tricks he has, like the unblockable tech trap, where if they don't tech, you can refloat. Unbreakable, you know, throw to splat at the wall. He has a backlash in Intimidation 1+2. Some pretty decent poking and buttons in like down forward 1, down back 4, jab. But I agree that he has a lot of problems in terms of tracking. He's pretty sluggish. He's pretty punishable, like especially if your opponent knows the matchup well. But he's so easy. He's so easy and consistent, which I see as a great strength for tournament play. Easily pressures Negan. So definitely clunky problems. Can be stepped. Is quite minus on a lot of stuff. I absolutely, you can argue dropping him down to B. But I am a bit biased in favor of him, but I feel like a very creative player who can really apply the maximum utility of his big old bag of tricks. I think there is something there that's quite potent. But yeah, you could absolutely argue dropping him. Characters, for various reasons, are just notably a little bit riskier and just lack the options these characters have. And these characters are literally quite... I mean, the game is very balanced, but these characters are obviously the worst, in my opinion. And there's no reason to post Kazuya next to Gigas in a tier list. Or Horang, for that matter. So yeah, this is how I would do with this tier list. If you want to correct it, if you want the Gandalf of Tekken to come and just honestly, I like this guy. Magic wand of I've been listening this whole time, but most of the time, this guy knows what he's talking about. The guy at the top, he has some insight, but this guy, man, I would listen to him. I would advise my audience to listen to the guy to the bottom right here. And I can only hope that we gotta support content creators to do a good job, you know, and give us a lot of knowledge. So maybe in the future, someone will donate $500 to this guy, or a couple of gift subs at least. Like IQ knowledge. This is what it looks like. We gotta promote people who actually know what they're talking about. And this guy, Arslan, you know, most of the time it's like, okay, you have a point, but I'm not really learning anything. So, you know, Arslan comes but the guy at the bottom here, it's like, Jesus, you... Nah, but I'm just kidding. You know what's going on, motherfucker. It's like... the game is so balanced that, you know, everyone goes into B. He nailed it perfectly with the top rows, in my opinion. But if I was just to do a little bit more of refinement, this is what I would do. Man, the goddamn truth bombs. Hopefully you got some...
तो उससे एक दो कैरेक्टर्स है जो मैंने भी एक्सप्लेन किए हैं, लेकिन आई थिंक आई एम 80% or 85%, maybe 90% agree with this tier list. ओके अगर मैं भी शायद करता तो शायद इस तरह करता क्योंकि उसने जो मेन चीज़ है ना जो मैं आपको पहले कहा है उसने ऐस
Just one gift sub?
प्लस एस को
No, I'm kidding. Shadow Slage, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
ए को नहीं छेड़ा जो मेरी मेन चीज़ है उसने उसी को नीचे से मज़ीद चीज़ें कर दी हैं उसकी ब्रांचेस बना दी हैं 2-3 रो डाल दी हैं ऊपर नीचे तो वो उसने कर दिया लाइक तो रहता वही है सही है ना बस मोड उसने क्लासीफाई कर दिया तो उसने उसने मेरी चीज़ को completely
But so all kidding aside, I think it's quite remarkable and cool that I could actually do a video on Arslans tier list, you know, and you know, try and have some fun with it. And turns out he agrees with 80 to 90% of the things I'm saying, and it's that's fucking incredible. That's really cool to see.
जो कंसर्न है मेन जो कंसर्न है वो आपको आपके किसी
But yes, I mean, if you want to know where it's at, like listen to Arslan. He's the best player in the world. Like the amount of knowledge he has is just mind-boggling. But I just find it so fun to, from my point of view, talk about the game and do analysis. So it's kind of nice to have a pseudo debate here with him. It's not
Less than 3.
God, that's loud. It's not face to face, but it's kind of fun to do this back and forth. So yes, I had a lot of requests to do this, and now we're done. I hope everyone found it interesting. I did clarify a couple of characters, but yeah, not too much disagreement. I think Asuka, to be honest, should be B+. Negan, again, I want to make a case for him, but I agree, you could be inclined to drop him. And again, Devil Jin, he can stay at S, but in my opinion, he's the shakiest S out of those characters. And then Gigas, I want to hear him talk more about Gigas. That would be interesting. He doesn't feel he's bottom 2. So maybe, you know, Eddie is worse, Miguel is worse. Hwoarang, obviously, in my opinion, a strong character. Alisa, in my opinion, obviously strong. Yeah, there were a couple of interesting conversations. So thanks everyone for listening to me. Have a nice day.